Here's how to use components in Figma. Here's a replicated design for a YouTube card. Let's say you are the designer at YouTube. You are on a project to redesign this card to feature 2 videos in each column. If you don't use the component feature in Figma, you need to manually adjust every single card in your project, which can take a miserably long time. This is where Figma components come in handy. For elements that are reused in your design, create a component so you can manage them all at once. A component can be as small as a button or as large as an entire table. To create a component, select the element, right-click, and choose Create Component. To use the component, just copy and paste it. The main component will have a 4-dot icon. Consider the main component as the template. The copy has an outlined diamond icon. The copy is called an instance, and you can create as many instances as you want. Any changes you make to the main component will reflect in all its instances, so you can resize the card, adjust the font size, or make other changes. But there's just one exception. If you override a property in the instance, then that specific property won't update when the main component changes. Let's say you adjust the corner radius of this specific instance. Now you go ahead and adjust the corner radius of the main component. That instance will not change. If you want the instance to match the main component again, you can right-click and select Reset All Changes. This will remove all the overrides. Other than copy and paste to use a component, you can also find all your components in the Assets panel on the left side of Figma. It sounds pretty easy, right? But there are many things that can go wrong when using components. So stick with me, you won't regret listening to this part. When creating a component, be mindful of the small components that may need adjustments due to each instance's customization. Use auto layout in these cases. I especially like to focus on text element because a text box can get longer or shorter depending on the content inside. Using auto layout, which is this icon here, will make your component adaptable. When using components, you may run into scenarios where your main component is almost what you need, but you just need to add one small thing. This often leads people to detach the instance, which you can do by right-clicking and selecting Detach Instance. This allows you to completely separate this from the main component to make any necessary changes. I find myself detaching components more often than I'd like. However, you need to listen to this. If the component is owned by you, try not to detach an instance. Try adding a new component or variant instead, because component update happens more than you think, and you don't want to manually adjust all the elements that you've detached from the main component whenever an update happens. For example, the card for an unlisted video versus a listed video only differ by just one small icon. But since there could be many unlisted videos, it's better to create a separate component for the unlisted video card. I do this by detaching the component, making the adjustment, and creating a new component. And to be honest, this has already solved the problem. Now you just need to use a different components for all unlisted videos. And if there's an update to the design of the card, just update 2 main components, and all the instances will reflect the same change. Just make sure you drag all your main components into a clear label section, because I've seen many designers making the mistake of hiding their main component in their design. This can lead to a nightmare, especially when collaborating with others. And we can go one step further here to set up these 2 components as variants. This is a little bit more advanced, but try it out. The trick is to label your components using slashes and start with the broader category, moving to more specific ones. Here, I know this is a component for a YouTube card. It's designed for long-form videos, and we also have shorts. It's a smaller version of the thumbnail, and we also have a large featured thumbnail. And it's for a published video, and we also have unlisted videos. So, I will name it like this. Now, let's use the same property or categorization approach to name the unlisted video component. Everything stays the same except for the last part. By the way, there are many ways to name these 2 components. Just like there's so many ways to organize your closet. When in doubt, start organizing and you will find the best practice for your file. Next, select both components and click Combine as Variants in the top right corner. Figma will automatically generate the component name and property names based on how you've labeled them. You can rename these properties based on how you're organizing them. For mine, it's video length, size of the card, and video category. So what's the benefit of using variants? Well, it's a better organization method that makes life easier for anyone using the component. Let's say I want to switch this thumbnail to an unlisted video thumbnail. The options will be conveniently displayed in the top right panel. And all I need to do is to make this switch here. This is especially helpful when working on large-scale projects with many elements and variants. But remember, all projects start small and grow huge. So it's good to plan for scalability early on by creating these components and variants over time and use consistent naming conventions. If you want to see how large a component can get, go to Figma community, search for design system, and you'll find examples where an entire page is dedicated to just one thing, like buttons. Cool, eh? If you learned something today, turn on all notifications to my channel, and this is part of the playlist where I teach you Figma. And if you want to go one step further and learn how design is done in big tech companies, then check out my course, Fast Track UX. It is a gem. My name is Aliana. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in this video.